you had a cold call, anything that you can think of as a scripting challenge, think about that, write it down, because we want this to be interactive. So, that's first and foremost. I think there's a seat there if you want to sit with the team. We're putting friends together. Wes is here, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll put you here. And Preston went to the restroom.
Yeah, Preston likes to sit on his
I tried to get Preston.
Go sit in the back.
Over in the corner.
So, are we ready
Where'd
to get started?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start with the jacket and hope I don't overheat. So, wanted to thank you guys for coming today. I think that for about a year, I've had this vision in my head to do a scripting class. It's one of my passions. I love doing it. I love cold scripting with my team, and I've had this vision, and Lizy graciously agreed to do this with me. And what I love about that is that if you don't know Lizy, she is a powerhouse lender. She is the #1 female loan officer, but this lady knows how to take any discussion, make it sound great, and get the client to the direction that you as an agent are going to need it and that the client needs to go. So I love the fact that we're going to get a real estate take and a lending take, but from someone who does this on a daily. And as an agent, I get to call her and go, this client's making me crazy. I need your help. And she can script through taking that client and smoothly getting them on the same page and saving files and stuff like that. So I was honored when she agreed to do this with me, because I was really excited to do a class that has been something that I have wanted to do for a long time. So if you don't know Lizy Hoeffer, you need to know Lizy Hoeffer, and she's going to start off our class with some teaching
skills.
There you go.
Okay. So I see and recognize a lot of people in the room. Those who do not know me, I've been a loan officer in Phoenix since 2008, but I actually got my start in the business in 2002. And I started as a receptionist, and 3 months later I became their full-time dialer and ran the telemarketing center. So I have a lot of experience in cold calls. I also used to work the model home center, which were those kiosks in the mall, and I used to sell loans to people walking by. Okay, so I will tell you that I know how to close someone. Okay, so I'm going to give you some techniques here, right, on things that will help you with client situations that you have. And then what we're going to do is take your real life situations, and we are going to have the master practice scripts with you. Okay? All right. So, have you guys ever had a sale that, you looked everything up, you researched everything up, you got the price that you were looking for, but somehow still felt kind of icky at the end, like you could have done better? Anyone have that experience? Mm-hmm. Raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. Have you ever had an experience where you walked in, overpaid, and then were besties with the salesperson? Right? Okay. That is because that person understood your sales language. Okay? So there's 3 sales language, right? There's gut, there's the head, and then there's the heart. Okay? So people make decisions with facts. They make decisions based on how they like their gut instinct, and then they make decisions on their emotions. Like, I have to have this, is so beautiful. Okay? And so we're going to talk about what that looks like using DISC, and then I'm going to teach you the best closing skills for each one of those personality profiles, and then, like I said, we're gonna coach with Mr. Miyagi. All right. So, are all of you guys realtors here? Yeah. Okay. Sometimes we have some lenders in here. So, all right. So, have you guys ever gotten a sign call or a phone call that says, "Hey, I need to know what the price of this home is"? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just tell me what the price is. Okay. That is the quintessential D personality. They want bottom line. They want facts. They call in really hot. Okay. I want this. Okay. They are gut decision makers. Period. Okay. They know within the first 30 seconds if they like you or not. Okay? If they're going to do business with you. You have very minimal time. Okay? Now, they care about making more money, getting a deal, or being efficient. Right? So time, money, stress. Okay? They want to be short, to the point, and you cannot say the words can't and no. Okay? Right? Write that down. Can't and no. No nos, okay? They really care about the bottom line, and productivity and progress is their main motivation, and their biggest fear is being taken advantage of, okay? My best strategy when dealing with someone who calls and says, what are your rates? I'm like, hey, I'm absolutely going to get you the rates. I just have to pull up the pricing engine right now. I wasn't prepared to give you a rate over the phone. While that's pulling up, can I ask you a couple more questions? So what did I do? Say yes right away? And then I started leading into my questions. Okay? What's the price of that home? Hey, you know what? I don't have that pulled up right now. I have a couple of listings. Just give me a moment while I pull that up. In the meantime, can I ask you a couple questions? Okay? Second thing I did was ask for permission to ask for questions. Okay? So, said yes right away, ask for permission. Second personality profile is an I. So these are your very emotional people. Oh, just by the way, D's make up only 10% of the population on this page. Okay? So you won't deal with that many D's. I's, 15% of the population, they're your chatty Cathys. Okay, they're the people that want to tell you about the neighborhood, the house they like, the shutters, right? They sometimes are the people that fall in love with the house that doesn't quite meet their budget. Okay? Anyone experience that? Okay? All right, has anyone ever talked to somebody who is an emotional decision maker? Okay? I like to think that all of us have a little person that rides our emotional elephants. That person is our brain. The emotions are the rest of our body, right? And at any time, right, can our emotional elephant kick off our rider and trample all over them? Yeah, right? So these people are challenging because once they're emotional, it's difficult. Okay? So just so you know, they want to have fun. They also don't like no's. Okay? So both your D and your I are aggressive and emotional. Okay? Aggressive and emotional. All right, so they seek recognition, and their biggest fear is loss of prestige. Okay, they don't want to buy in the neighborhood they don't think is good enough for them. Okay, right? Your next one, and this is really wonderful, guys. Okay, this is your S personality. This is 60% of the population, and if you guys learn 60% of the population selling, you will have a lot of sales so long as you have a lot of prospecting. Okay? This is where the more leads solve all of your problems comes into play, right? Because you just have to learn to get them to the next step as soon as possible. All right, so our S's are our supporters, right? They want to have security, they want to have safety, they just want to know what the next steps are. When talking to you, they're going to ask for your opinion on things, right? I don't know, what do you think? Do you think I should make this move? Right? They're the ones that ask everyone, do you think the market's going to crash? Have you heard that? Okay. They seek acceptance, right? They're looking for your approval. Isn't that nuts? Their biggest fears is the unknown and sudden changes. Okay? All right. They make up majority of the population, like I said. Our next and final category are our thinkers. Okay? So, they make decisions with their brains. Okay? And what's difficult about a C personality, they make up 15% of the population, okay, is that they want everything to be fair. Okay? But fair is a very subjective term, right? I think we all want to give a fair deal, right? But sometimes people think you're charging too much, right? Anyone heard that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so they want to give facts, they want documentation, they will have lists of questions, they seek accuracy, and they hate criticism. Their biggest fear is being criticized, getting it wrong. Okay? So here's something to be aware of with C's. If your C personality continues to ask you tons of questions, okay, answering their questions, one, it's a necessity, but you have to ask why they're still asking questions. Most people will get a C and they'll just answer all of their questions, and you will have to ask the more confrontational question, which is, hey, it sounds like, if this house meets X, Y, and Z, but it seems like you're not, like I might be missing something, right? It seems like something might have changed, right? Because you're still asking a lot of questions, but this house seems to meet all of the criteria, okay? So again, like if they still ask a lot of questions, you have not sold them, okay? They are not, that's not a yes, okay? All right, really important that you understand this, okay? So a D is going to call in and say, what's the price of the home? The I is going to tell you what they love about the area, why they have to have this house. Hey, I found a house online, okay? Your S's are going to let you lead, right? Let you set the table, let you tell them what the next step is. And your C people are going to want to ask you a list of things all at once.
Engineers.
Think of your engineers, exactly. Okay? Now, I'm going to teach you best closing skills for these types of personalities, and then we're going to practice, okay? All right. First, and I should put these in order of importance, which I will go and change. But first one is number 7. This is your number 1 closing skill to learn. If you walk away from this session with nothing else but this close, you will win so long as you do a lot of prospecting. Okay? This is the assumption close. This is how we close 60% of the population. Okay? This is how it sounds. Great. So if there are no other questions, the next step is, okay, repeat after me. So great. If there's no other questions, the next step is. Can I tell you how many people have a wonderful conversation with someone, show them the property at their open house, fall in love with a couple just to get ghosted the next day? Ever happened to you? Okay, it's because you did not close them on the spot. You let them leave, right, without getting them signed. Okay, we have to get these people signed. I close all the time. I'm closing when people don't know I'm closing. Okay? I'm leading people to the next step 100% of the time. Doesn't matter if I met them 5 minutes ago. Okay? So you got to know that one. Another way to approach that is, do you have any other questions? Are you sure? Is there anything else I can do for you? You're positive you're all set? Great. The next step is. Okay? Sometimes you have to give like C personalities permission to get there. No, seriously, an S personalities, because just so you know, everyone presents a little bit differently. It's easy to deal with questioners because they openly ask questions. It's easy to deal with obligers because they just say yes. Okay? But then you have those people that say yes, but you can feel in their gut you have not gotten it. Right? They're saying yes, but they're like, oh, yep, we're totally going to do this. I just need to talk to my husband. Yes or no? Dealt with that? Okay, you can feel it too, just so you know. All right, so circle assumption, that's the one you're going to nail. Then we're going to go to an if this then that. So number 1, okay? This is going to be on C personalities. These are your questioners, okay? So I have a lot of times pre-qualified someone, exactly what they asked me for, the rate that they told me, right? They sent me all of their documentation, but I can't get them to pull the trigger. Okay? You have shown someone 60 homes, you found the one, right, based on all the criteria, but they will not write the offer. Okay? So I say in this case, if they say the next step is, and they're not ready for it, okay, then I say, hey, what am I missing here? Did something change? Okay, those are the 2 questions. What did I miss? Okay, because that's not confrontational. That's passively saying, hey, what's up here? All right, did something change? Okay, giving them permission to tell me what's wrong. Okay, in those cases, I will hear something like, well, I was reading on the internet that interest rates are at the lowest they've been historically. And I was looking at bank rate, and this is what I saw. And I'll be like, oh, okay, well, let's get on there, right? So I'll address their concerns, and then I will say, okay, so let me understand this correctly. If I can get you a $500,000 loan at 4.5% interest with no discount points, then you'll move forward? Can I get you to move forward today? Awesome. I got to go call my boss and see if I can work this out for you. Give me 15 minutes. Will you be available? Okay? That's what that sounds like. Now, if you do not go and do something, if you just cut your commission, if you just do the thing right there on the spot, they will lose trust with you immediately. Okay? They will think they can haggle with you. Okay? So I try to give people my best deal the first time round, and I literally have to go and talk to my boss. Okay? That's fine, but if you don't have a boss, you have a team leader, you have a broker, you have all kinds of people that set rules for your company, right? You do not own my home group, anyone here? Okay, so you have a boss. Okay? It's really important that you use that in that closing skill, otherwise you lose trust. Okay? Especially with your D personalities. Okay? Alright. So another way of saying this is, okay, so if I'm able to do this for you, are you willing to move forward with me? Okay? This works great when people are shopping you with other people. Okay, have you ever been shopped against another realtor? Okay, and you ask them what they're doing, promise what they're doing, and then one more. Okay, that's what it is. Okay? Next one, guys, is 2. Also works for C personalities. So C personalities unfortunately take advantage. They don't mean to take advantage. They have a lot of questions, and they want to get it right. Okay? In their research, okay, they will do things like, for us, like they'll go online and they'll want to get a home loan from like internetloans.com. Okay? When you see a pre-qual from internetloans.com, are you excited? You think your sellers are excited? Okay, no, we know that, they don't know that. Okay, so what happens is sometimes we have to remind them of all of the things that we have done. Okay, another example of this, guys, is have you ever shown somebody a lot of properties, given up your weekends, given up an important event, and then the person says, oh, you know what, I just found out that my aunt's sister-in-law is a real estate agent? Right? You laugh because it's happened, right? And the thing is that they're almost willing to drop you in 5 seconds, or they walked into an open house and someone said that if they used that realtor, they could pay less commissions. Right? Like these things happen to us all the time. This is when I use an obligation clause. I mostly have to do it with C's. Okay? And how it sounds, you have to be really willing to lose the client because you're almost lost them anyway. Does that make sense? Now, an obligation clause is kind of, you got to be careful because you can be offensive. Okay? So how I do it is I say, hey, I'm so sad to lose your business. I really thought we connected. Like, was there something that I did wrong? Because I swear to God, I've tried to be available every Sunday, every evening at 7 p.m. when you needed that pre-qual. I mean, I called the listing agent on your behalf. Like, what did I do wrong here? I felt like I was really working hard for you. Okay? Did you feel like I was working hard for you? Okay? Now, the C personality does not want to get it wrong. Okay? And if you really have been working hard for you, they will care about that. Okay? They will care about that. Okay? So, and then I'm like, okay. I then go back to the if this then that clause. I'm like, and so once they've said, yes, you're right, I'm working hard. Is there any way that I can keep your business? Look, guys, the truth is, I can't always match internetbank.com. That's an actual truth. Like, there's some internet banks that do the loans for negative. Okay? But I can get close. And a lot of times if I say, hey, if I can get close, will you do business with me? I mean, I've done all this stuff. I can guarantee your close. Your real estate agent trusts me. Like, the listing agent accepted your contract because I was on the loan. Like, can we get close? We're talking about the difference between this and this. Okay? That's an obligation clause. Hey, I've showed you 60 properties. I've I left my daughter's birthday party, whatever you did, right? We're all codependent and what to do. Okay, so we gotta tell them all the things that we did. How many of you have been too afraid to tell people what you did for them? More than just the 3 people that raised their hand, I can guarantee you. Okay? Now, you cannot be, how dare you? Or, are you fucking kidding me? Both of those are
You think it.
Yeah, you just have to be like, oh my God, that's awful news. What happened? I thought we connected. Thought I worked hard for you. Okay? That's how you do it. Okay? We all heard our mothers build us. Okay, we could do this. Alright, the next one is for an I. It's called the you deserve it clause. This one is especially important in this environment. People are very freaked out about the market. They're very freaked out about what they can afford. They only hear affordability and interest rates, inflation, all the bad stuff in the news. And so you will get people, right, who are afraid to pull the trigger in this environment more than you ever have in your career. Okay? So a you deserve it is lots of times just, and this is true, most people will come to us and qualify for more than what they want to purchase. Okay? But in this market, we are pushing up against people's, like, what they feel comfortable with. So oftentimes I am showing people within their own budgets what they can really afford. Okay? And once we show them that they can afford it, right, and then we're talking about real, like, budgets and what they take home, once we show them, then you say, hey, you can do this. Right? You deserve this. Like, what is your alternative? Okay, you're gonna rent, you know, the rent just raised $200. Like, that's a realized cost right now. We're talking about the difference between, you know, $400, which is an extra $200, but look at how much you'll gain. You don't think this is worth that? Like, right? I think you deserve this. You need to make this choice, right? Like, sometimes they need to hear us. Tell them it's okay. Give them permission. Okay? The other thing is people have a lot of money mindset issues around things, right? So people don't feel good about sometimes buying into a neighborhood that they feel uncomfortable, like they won't fit in. Or, you know, having nicer things than their family came from. Like, these are things too. So you just have to remind them that they deserve it, they worked hard for this is so awesome, and sell them on the future. Okay, which is our puppy dog clothes, another eye clothes. Okay, so sell them on what it looks like. Okay? Oh my God, your kids are gonna love this school. Oh my God, your little ones are gonna love the backyard. Oh, I bet you could put the Christmas tree right here. Oh my gosh, with white paint, this house is gonna look like that house, right? You have such good style. Like, what would you put here? Okay? You gotta sell them the picture of what it looks like, right? Talk to them about what the equity in 3 years would look like. What would they do with this house? Okay, what would they do with that money? Again, you're selling the picture. Have you guys ever walked by a puppy store? Okay, you look at the puppy, you can feel it, you can imagine it cuddling with you, and you have to talk yourself out of buying it. Okay? Right? I don't even walk near that. Right? Like, so this is that. You guys have to sell the story. Okay? Then list summary close, guys. So this is for your D and C. Okay? So a list summary close is a list of demands that you have met. So a D personality say, I'm only paying this. This is how time frame I want it. This is the contract when it's going to happen. Okay? Awesome. I got your $500,000 house closing in 2 weeks. Right? My lender did your pre-qual. Whatever. That's what a list summary close is. You know, with a C, it's going to be a lot longer of a list. Okay? But you have to remind them, okay, this met all of your criteria. Okay? All right. Now, if a list summary close does not work, what do you think is your next strategy? You're paying attention. If I had a prize, you'd get it.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So if they don't like the list summary closes, what did I miss? Tell me, did anything change? Okay. So if this, then that. All right. Then we have a takeaway close. This works with D personalities and 100% only if you mean it. Okay. For those of us who've been in, you know, not great relationships and we ever gave an ultimatum, I'm not going to make you raise your hand. I know multiple people in the room. Okay? Ultimatums only work when what? You're serious. Okay? If you don't back up an ultimatum, what happens?
You get walked over.
They don't believe you. You've lost all credibility. You know, you might as well just throw in the towel. Okay? You've lost. So, a takeaway close for me sounds like, hey, well, I have a different voice. Have you noticed I have different tones for different types of sales? This is my angry voice. No, seriously. I do it often because sometimes clients don't play by my rules. You know, they don't get us the docs. Hey, my team's called you 4 times to sign those loan disclosures. I can't get your loan done without the disclosures. This is the closing date. I put my name on the line here. You're not playing ball. I need you to sign those. Do you think you can sign those for me in 24 hours? You can't sign those for me in 24 hours. We can't do business. Hey, we have to close. I need your loan documents by this date. My team already sent this to you 3 times. Do you have any questions? Okay? Like, that's what it sounds like. I've had people, like yesterday, I had a client who said his realtor said it was okay to call me at 6:30 in the morning. I did not answer, okay, because that's just not how I roll. At 9:30, right, but mind you, he started calling me at 6:30. I have lots of things to do. I'm a mom of 3. I've got lots of things to do. I'm not picking up the phone prior to 8:30. It's just not happening, truthfully. Unless I know you and know that you would only call me if it was very important. But a person I do not know cannot call me at 6:30 in the morning hysterically. Okay, by 9 o'clock, he had said, I have called you multiple times. Okay, and I said, hey, I understand that you have been trying to reach me at 6:30. Guess what? I don't work at 6:30. Your agent referred you to me because I am the best in the business for this situation. I am so sorry that your loan is not going through by so-and-so, right? And I understand the urgency, and I promise you I will take care of it. But here's how I work. Okay? Do you think that person got in line? Yes. Okay? Here's how I work. Here's the thing. My tone of voice changed. I told him I don't work that way. But I also told him, hey, I understand where you're coming from. I understand why you're so stressed. I will take care of you. And I did this thing called a triangle of trust. Your real estate agent, who you trust, told you to call me. I understand it's super important to you and to her. It's important to me. And I promise you I will get this done. Okay? She trusts me. I need you to trust me. Let's calm down. But the thing is, that's how it works. But my D comes out in that situation. But the thing is, I'm totally fine from walking away from somebody who's going to abuse me, yell at me, and hold me to unrealistic standards. Like, I might answer a phone call at 6:30, let's get real, it's me. But like, I can't always, and it's unfair for someone to act like that, okay? So you have to be willing to walk away. All right, and then your option close is your last D one. And the option close, D personalities have to perceive that they are in charge. Okay, so this sounds like, are you okay with getting the house for $500,000 and giving them a 60-day lease back? Or do you want to pay them $550 for the house and do a 30-day close of escrow? Okay, do you see it's an option? With rates, we talk about, hey, do you want high fees and a super low rate? Or do you want lowest costs and a high rate? Okay, that's simplifying it, but you're letting them be in charge with actually you being in charge. Okay, so option A, option B. Okay, in a perfect world, this is like house hunters. Okay, right? So these are your best sales tactics for all personality profiles. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, because we are now gonna turn it over to Torie. But here's what I'm gonna ask you to do first. I need everyone to stand up. Okay, you cannot sell from a shitty spot. Okay, you got good energy. Everyone's got to stand up. Everybody stand up. Okay. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do for me, because I believe in sales. You got to be in a really good energy field, right? So like when I make a call, I sound super happy. When I'm going to give straight up news, my energy is high. You cannot sell from low energy. Okay. So on the count of 3. I need you guys to say we're going to close more homes, okay? All right. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to close more homes. Again. We're going to close more homes. One more time, like you really mean it. We're going to close more homes. God, I hope you close more homes. Okay. Yay!
So I had music playing for you guys, if that's like energy. So you're going to notice I pace a lot, I talk.
This is the grandmaster.
You know what I love though? Is that Lizy can put things into such formal ways. And I'm like the hood version of that. I'm like, and I don't know how to explain it, but she always makes me like, formally, Torie, this is what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing. So I love the way she can define processes and put sales skills in actual like shit that makes sense, and not just Torie verbiage. But those are like very real skills. I can't tell you how many times she was saying something, and in my head I heard myself saying things like that to clients multiple times. So what she is saying works, and knowing the behind the scenes and the formal explanations helps. But I think that, like, for me, I never really come to that highly educated understanding. I just know what I do and I know why it works, right? So anyway, I love that she's put that for you, because I think understanding that on the backside will help you when you hear scripting things, and then you'll go, oh, that's what that is that I'm doing. Like I was sitting back there going, that's what that's called when I do that. But adapting to your clients is everything, right? You cannot approach every client the same. It will not work. Dispersonality, right? It's just like you could not approach things in your life the same every day. You can't be robotic about your life. Cannot be robotic about clients. But knowing that dispersonality will help you, and having those sales strategies will help you as well. One of the biggest things that I can tell you that I have tried to learn over the years is truly how to not sound like a salesperson. Because when I think of a salesperson, the number one thing I think of is a used car salesman. And the number one thing that goes through my head is when you go on a car lot, it's like the vultures. What are you doing? What are you looking for? I just want to look at a car. Are we good? Give me a minute to breathe, right? And understanding that, and the reason I think that my brain goes to that used car salesman is that's where we all are like, now, the D in me, which is high, I go, come on, bring it on. I can't wait to demolish you and get this other person. Like, I'm already there, right? I'm challenging him. But everybody doesn't want to be sold. Nobody wants to feel like you're the pitch master. Hey, how you doing today? You want to buy a house? I've got you. You're the... Whoa. So I have tried to adapt that disc. If somebody is a D, I'm going to be like this, but I'm not going to be like, when are you buying? When do you want to buy that house? Oh, it's not tomorrow? Nobody wants that. So through my techniques and through what you hear today, the one thing I hope that you'll hear is taking it and adapting all the personalities, but not being like, when are you going to buy? Because I cannot tell you how many clients I have retained for years and years and years just because I said to them right up front, hey, don't worry about it. Many of my clients are 3 years out. If you're 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, guess what? Number one, when you're ready, I'm still going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. And number two, over the course of those few years, one thing I know to be true is that I am going to help you understand this market like no one else. And when you make that decision, you are going to feel so informed and educated on your decision and on the process, you will not regret your purchase, whenever that is. I'm here. And that gives them the comfort to open up to you and to hear the what's and the whys and the hows and then what you do next. So that's the number one thing for me, is to not. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I am always calculated on what I'm doing. I am always calculated on the end of this result is going to be this. But how you deliver that will be the difference between somebody loving you, trusting you, referring you, and somebody going, that is a pushy bitch. Okay? So, what I love to do, I love interactive stuff. My team members that are here know that this is where I thrive. That Top Agent Smackdown was my favorite thing because it's like, throw questions at me. This is where I thrive. Like, that's my passion. I love it. And yes, I pace a lot because I can't stand still. But I'm not also going to tell you to, like, jumping jacks with me. I'm just have a lot of energy all the time. So, so let's start it. I mean, here's the thing. What I want you to do is I'm not here for anything more than you. I'm here to help take your career to another level. Okay? My true desire in getting into a team lead position, and I've been in this career for a long time, but why did I start a team? Because my true desire is to take agents and make them amazing. And I love to see somebody excel. So it's not uncommon for me to be around here or anywhere and an agent be like, oh, can I pick your brain? Yeah, what's going on? And I sincerely, I took an agent not too long ago to lunch because I'm like, what are your challenges? She's like, I'm trying to start a thing, a team. I'm like, I can help you with that. I love to see people succeed. And sometimes. That can be at the cost of my own growth on occasion, but that's my passion. So I'm here today to help you guys with real world, right now today challenges. And Lizy will chime in, and I think it's good to have like her take on things too. But what are you facing today is something we have not faced. And the market is ever shifting, and it will continue to be. If you do not shift in this career, you will die. And I'm sorry, but that is the way it is. How do I know that? Because 10, 15, whatever years ago, when the market made a massive shift and fell off a cliff, I was just really good at real estate. I was not good at process. I was not good at system. I was not good at that. And then I found myself working 3 jobs to make the income that I needed to make. And it shook me to my core because I was like, how could this happen? I'm a top agent. I'm doing amazing. Now, in Tucson, it's a little different market, a lot different time. But nonetheless, I remember thinking, how could I have been so caught off guard by this? I saw what was happening in the market, I knew, but I didn't adapt to systems and processes. Today, come hell or high water, this ship is not sinking because I adapted. I said, when we do this, what are we going to do differently? System, process, all this stuff, right? So shift with the market because the market's continuing to change and you better change with it. If you do not, congratulations. I hope you had a good however long you've been in this. And then I hope you have a backup plan. But be ready because things aren't done changing. You think commissions are going higher? So who has to fight for that? We do, right? We have to know our value. So let's go. I don't care if it's a commission scripting. I don't care if it's, hey, how do I approach an agent on this? I don't care what it is. If you stump me, like I said earlier, I'll be a little shocked because I'm also good with a little bit of bullshit. Just enough. Okay? So, who wants to go? Yes.
What do you say or instruct your team to say when someone asks or someone says, you know, I just want to give you 2%?
So are we talking about a buyer or a listing?
Either.
Well, it matters because it's going to be
Okay,
a different,
I
it's a
don't
different
know.
discussion. So how many of you are facing the commission cuts more on the buyer side? How many are facing on the listing side? Both? All right, let's do both. Yeah, how about this? All right, so I'm sitting in a listing agreement. Let's role play this. And seller says,
So, you know, I just heard that I can now, that your most real estate agents are willing to take 2%.
okay, so have you interviewed other agents right now?
Yes.
You have. Okay, I understand that. Now, I'm not sure if in that interview process, were you able to get into what they're going to do for you? Now, here's the thing. Listen to what they say. Because if their answer isn't something very driven, like, yeah, they said their marketing is this, and they're going to, then they're not being offered anything. What they're being offered is a cut commission. That's important. Why am I worth more than someone else? This is where you got to script that. So if they say, well, I really don't know. Okay, that's fair. Like, I get that. Maybe they didn't present that. Totally understand. Let me tell you what I do with my marketing, okay? So number one, I have a whole team of people that are going to take your listing. Not only are your photos going to be professionally done. Now, don't do this with a $200,000 listing if they even exist. Take this, you know, in perspective. But we're going to do professional photos. I'm going to do a 3D, a Matterport, if they've got an amazing view, a sunset shoot, whatever it is, okay? And I'm going to make sure that your listing goes before, not just the people here locally that may see a sign. Matter of fact, I don't even need a sign. If you're uncomfortable with it, that's fine with me. But I'm going to put your listing before not only everyone looking on the internet here, but anyone looking in other markets, and I'm going to target that buyer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll your listing across the screen in front of them till they click it. And then my team's going to get on the phone and we're going to talk to them about why they clicked on your listing and what can we do to help them. The other thing is I have a full team that answers the phone, so nobody's going to get a missed call. I have a team of 20 that if somebody calls and says, I want to see that house in 15 minutes and I can get you to okay that, I'll get someone there in 15 minutes. I'm going to take your property and market it to the best of anybody out there. And people are going to want to pay more for your home because of my marketing. Now, again, I'm assuming that I'd already had the upfront discussion with them of what I do, why me, blah, 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 what's their goals, all that. Then I'm gonna tell them, now for doing that, I charge an all-inclusive fee. I'm not gonna charge you anything additional. I'm not going to say, hey, by the way, you know, the photo shoot came back more, or hey, you had to do a second take, there's additional fees. It's all-inclusive. You pay it once. Now, I do have discount packages, but based on what you're telling me and what you want to get for your home, that discount package is not going to market this home the way that it should. And you're going to lose money in the long run. So the next thing I would do is get into what they believe is a fair value for that service. And oftentimes, they hear a percentage, they don't think a dollar amount. Just like when a client hears a 4% rate versus, I heard last time it was 3%. The difference to them isn't that great. And a buyer's thinking payment. So you have to take them out of that room and then put it into perspective. So really, if you may be talking, and let's say it's with that, so we're talking a difference of $2,500, I guarantee you I'm gonna make more than that $2,500. And my list price is gonna drive up offers. And I'm gonna do everything I can to negotiate on your behalf and fight for you and what's important for you. Isn't that worth the $2,500, especially when you're gonna walk away with more money?
Yeah.
So that would be to a seller. To a buyer, the very first time you're gonna wanna have that discussion is up front. Is it time to talk money and discussion of what you're worth when they're about to write a contract? They're about to make a big decision. Now, even though as agents, we've done our job, hopefully, of properly explaining, hey, in this market, this is what this market looks like. It may take us 6 to 7 times. One thing I know though is when the home is the right one, we'll get it. Okay, you have to trust that. I've seen it over 20 years. But in this market, let's be real of what you can expect and what I'm gonna do for you. So up front, we label it a buyer consult. You can call it whatever you wish. To the client, I would never recommend calling it something that feels like something boring. Nobody wants to sit down and be bored for 30 minutes with you. So what I would usually say to somebody up front is right up front, my first discussion, I'm going to get them to explain, kind of what they're looking. Hey, would you mind if we just sat down? I'll buy you lunch if we can fit that in. But if you don't have time for lunch, can we just sit for 30 minutes and talk about the market today? And even if you're a seasoned investor, this plays for both. If they're a first-time buyer, then my script is going to be, can we just sit down and talk about the market today for a first-time buyer? What that looks like for you, because what I want you to do is have a general understanding of what's going to happen, what you can expect, and how we're doing things right now. If they're a seasoned investor, hey, I get it. You've purchased several homes. If they haven't in Arizona, bring it back to Arizona. Let's talk about the Arizona market. If they bought in Arizona, hey, unless you bought within the last 6 months, today's market is different than even a year ago. So can we take 30 minutes where we're just going to talk about your goals, let you kind of know what the market's happening, answer questions, so that way we're both on the same page from the get-go. In that consult is when I'm going to tell them what the market is overall, and I'm going to engage my discussion around their personality type. But in that time is when I'm going to talk about what I can do for them, why they must work with me, why there is no better agent for them than me, and what I charge for that. And then when I talk about what I charge, this is typically how it sounds. So I charge 3% for all of these things that we just talked about. Now, the great news is that in Arizona, the seller still is typically covering most of that cost. Still, typically. Implying that other markets that's not happening. So the seller is still typically covering most of that cost. Now here's the good news. In the event that something is not what I charge, I am going to do my best to negotiate it as part of the sales price. And in the contract, I'm going to ask the seller to cover that deficit. If I cannot do that, I'm going to work with one of my lending partners to see if we can get that covered. If neither of those can happen, then don't worry, it's just going to be one of your normal closing costs. Everybody's used to closing costs, right? It's just going to be one of your normal closing costs. But what I can promise you is at the end of the day, I will never let my commission stop you from getting your home. That's it. So they understand how that's going to work. They're not afraid that your commission's gonna override their plan in their home. In other words, you're most important, I promise you that will never get in the way. And then we move forward. Now, when I go to write that contract, and all of a sudden, it's a 72 sold if they can, and it's 2.25, I'm like, hey guys, remember when we had that talk about the cut commission? I'm gonna write this into the contract, and I'm gonna try to get the seller to cover it. So you're gonna see a credit in there, and at the end, it would just offset. The credit will offset the charge, so the seller is essentially paying for it, but this is one of those times. Brief discussion, move on. If I cannot do that, now usually you can. One of the things that people aren't thinking about is how do we get this accomplished outside of the standard, right? So you can write it into the contract and adjust your contract accordingly. You can also explain, because you should all be calling the listing agent, explaining why you're the best agent, why this is the best buyer. Lenders calling the listing agent, why. And in that say, hey, that 0.75%, my buyer's choosing to finance that 0.75%. So we're willing to escalate up to X if you're doing escalations above the net offer. Make sure the listing agent understands what you're saying. But when you counter, whatever your price on counter is, make sure that that 0.75 sticks. And then the process of there is letting the lender know so that the lender doesn't put on there that they're getting a 0.75 credit and forget that there will be a 0.75 charge. So that's way one. Way two is rates are up and down, right? So until a rate is locked, have a discussion with your lender and say, hey, is there any room when you lock them to cover 0.5%, half of the 0.75, whatever it is. And then there comes a credit for that. And if there's additional and you charge your buyer part of their normal closing costs, it's all gonna pan out on that closing cost sheet. Now, if you do all that and the buyer's like, I can't pay that, like I don't have that amount of money. Again, how much are we typically talking? Come on, $500. Yeah, like not pennies, right? So at the end of that, if it's down to that wire, of course I'm not gonna go, well, piss off, right? I'm gonna make a business choice, but let me get approval from my broker, because I'm the team lead, so the buck stops with me. My agents are trained to say, I gotta get approval from my team lead for this, because the services and the advantages of working with us are great. We've already gone over all that, so I need to get approval to get this reduced. Never make it you. If somebody is like, you know, you've done a couple $1 million repeatedly with them and you're gonna cut the commission, again, never stop the buck with you. Hey, typically my brokerage doesn't allow commission cuts like this because of the cost of doing business. Let me go to them and see if I can get this approved. Even I say that all the time. The buck never stops with you. Okay, so is that good on commissions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did that cover commissions though? Because commissions are a big thing, guys. We talk about it. If you think your cost of business is going down and your income's going up, yeah, we've had all this increase, wonderful. Your sales price is higher, but your commissions are down. We just did this math yesterday. $800,000 is the equivalent to selling $666,000 with that 0.5% variance. That's disgusting. Everybody's like, oh, I sold a $4 million house, 2%. Congratulations. You really didn't sell a $4 million. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This is cutting out of your pocket. You're working harder than you ever have. You're showing more properties than you ever needed to. With less inventory, you're digging out these dinosaur eggs to sell them. It's worth your time to know what you are worth. Okay, that's scripting through that.
So I've had two of them recently in the last couple of months that have come up. One being sellers are not going to cover any of the, I can't afford that 0.5% commission or whatever increase because the sellers aren't giving me a credit for the repair, so I have to do that one. So I went all the way through to day of close with one of my clients who was just absolutely refusing the 0.5% increase because the sellers weren't giving her anything. And then the other one is, well, you're my friend. I've known you for 15 years. Why? I'm gonna work with you because you're my buddy, but you're gonna give me a discount, right? Mm-hmm. I've hit that one a lot.
So I would say to somebody who says they're my friend, I'd say this. At the end of the day, our friendship matters. But would you agree that if I was your friend and I was terrible at what I did, would you trust me? And I'd say it just like that, I'd wait. And usually when I have those conversations, you'll notice my voice gets quieter. Because in my opinion, and Lizy probably has some great tactics why this works, but typically when people get attacked or they feel you're trying to touch my money, they elevate. The minute you elevate, you've lost control and you've lost respect. So instead of, whoa, hold on, did I not earn my commission? What are you talking about? We're friends. Yeah, if you're friends, don't you care about what I make? Reverse that. Get quiet. If we're really friends, can we be honest? If I was terrible, would you have chosen to work with me? If they say yes, I'd be like, that's scary. Man, because I would tell you what, I'd say no, right? And so I would use that angle of, I'm really good at what I do. Mm-hmm. And for that, I'm worth what I charge. But let me ask you something. What do they do for a living? They do, right? You're a, I don't know, nurse? I don't know. What do your friends do? What are some?
The one specifically was actually my in-laws, and they were.
Yeah, my husband's here, guys. Shh.
He owns a polished concrete company. So.
Okay, so you're the best in your field, right? I mean, when somebody needs their concrete handled and polished, do they call you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do they have a boss? I love when they have a boss. I hope they have a boss.
Yeah.
Okay, if they don't, this can be changed too. So they have a boss. So can I ask you, if you went to work for a whole month and your boss came at you and asked you to give him 25% of your paycheck back, would you?
Right.
You're gonna say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, why is that? Because you're worth what you do, right? I'm really good at what I do and I'm worth it. And I respect that you asked. I get it. But I also think you need to understand that this isn't just free what I do. And I have costs of doing business. And I'm really good at it. But I think you need to understand that if you went to work and somebody asked you to work for free, you'd probably be appalled. Mm-hmm. And then leave it at that. And they're going to feel like a dick. Right? Now, what was the other one?
We got into a situation where there was, we were at list price, everything was good. It was a 2 and a quarter or something like that. And so I had made it very clear at the beginning of the contract that, hey, there's going to be this deficit. We're going to figure it out. It'll be okay one way or the other. We got all the way to the point where it was literally day before close. She saw the settlement sheet and went, absolutely not. That's $2,500. I can't afford that. The sellers didn't pay for the pool to be resurfaced or whatever, so I need that money to go back into the house. And it's not about how good you were and how well you did. It's about dollars and cents for me.
Did she really not have the money?
No, she was paying cash on the house. It was an $800,000 home.
I got $2
Of course she
million
had
in the bank. Fuck you. You don't need it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my question would have been to her, I totally understand and I get it. Like, costs of ownership are huge. You've been in escrow about 30 days, right? And I would have had this data real quick to my cuff. Mm-hmm. You've gained approximately 15 to 20 grand in equity, whatever it is. I don't know the sales price, okay? Already, what I do worked. Mm-hmm. Because in 30 days, you've already got 10 grand sitting there. So I get 2,500 seems like a lot, but already what I did for you worked. Now, if she still persisted, obviously you want referrals, right?
Right,
It's a relationship business. All the way?
Yeah.
So here's what I would have said next.
I know.
If she would have came, which usually if you make someone...
It's an obligation close here for me. Like, I'm just like, hey, you've been in escrow for 30 days now. I've done and list out all the things you've done. Do you not feel that I've worked hard for this?
Oh, I had her call my team lead, and she's still.
Or did
back.
Did you say that to her?
Yep.
Yeah, and then
She
the
was
thing
laughing
I
in my
would have
butt.
tried to say after that is if I felt like it was going to be like, I'm never referring you business, all you care about is money, I'd have said, you know what, I understand, and I would have said all the other things, and I would have said, but at the end of the day, I really want you happy. It means everything to me because I put my heart and soul into this career. I work 7 days a week, and I have a family to pay for. Like, it means everything to me that you're happy because I know that you're going to send me someone, right? Like, you're going to refer me, and I want that. I want you to be happy. Let me talk to my team lead. Let me see if we can maybe, split it with you. Would that be good? Like, would that make you happy if I can get her to agree to that, or he,
Right.
the team lead? I would have been like, hey, I feed my family.
Yeah.
I can't buy Cheerios.
Hey guys,
Do you
one
see
thing
what I
that
mean?
Torie
Yeah.
said that I just want no one to miss here is that never give concessions without requesting something. So I'm making it a big deal. Like if I give a credit, I'm like, hey, like right now we have to give a credit because my client is short funds on an appraisal gap that he said he had.
Is it one of mine?
And so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna give you this $2,500 because we've been in escrow for a long time, and like, you know, I know you really want this house. Like, but this is really like, I would say between, and I listed out all the things we've done, I've really earned this money. So because I'm giving you this $2,500, I need you to promise me that you are going to sing from the rooftops that I'm the best loan officer, and anytime you hear anyone talk about a home loan, I need you to give them my information. Do we have a deal?
That's
And,
right.
and usually when I have to cut, I short of jokingly demanding, like, you better refer me because I'm gonna find you. You know, joking, but you see my personality, like I can get away with certain things, and I think that in your own way you can too. But yes, inevitably, if I have to cut, it better be made up somewhere.
Yeah.
And I see that, you know, like if you're taking referral-based business, make it up. We take a ton of Zillow. Guess what? That sucks to pay 35% off the top. But every one of my agents knows I better get 2 referrals out of that Zillow because it just made up for that fee. Is that, are we all on the same page?
Yes.
Are you guys falling asleep on me?
No.
Alright, because if so, I'm gonna crank the air down to 40. Freeze you away.
Don't tell Kelly.
I sell enough, they can pay the bill. Yes.
I just have a suggestion. I come from the Florida market, and I believe that maybe perhaps if there was a exclusive buyer broker agreement ahead of time where you're like, listen, if you get to close, like it's a miracle. You're welcome. And this is what it's gonna take. 3%, let's rock. And then you don't have to worry about like end of closing, the HUD.
Oh,
Like,
I had
you
one.
know.
She was
Yeah.
fully aware. It
It
was
happens.
11
It happens.
hours.
It does.
Even at the end.
Oh my God,
It
it
was,
was
yes,
at the
it
end.
happens a lot.
So she signed 3%, didn't
Yes.
want to pay?
Yes.
Oh, then now I would have gotten an
She had her listing attorney. She had her listing agent from California call me and say, "Why are you holding her up to a buyer broker? I've never used one before." And I
So
was
here's
like,
the thing.
"Oh."
Wow,
And this is
She was
where,
bad. It was really bad. It was really escalated.
let's
situation,
balance
so.
this out just a little, because trust me, my personality is fuck you. I told you what I charge.
Yeah.
Internally.
That's great. She had one. I'm proud of you. Most agents don't even
Yeah.
use
No,
one.
buyer broker, let me preface this. Any discussions of commissions, you must, I always, every single time, from the beginning, have a buyer broker.
Unequivocally.
Okay, that's a non-negotiable. That is a must.
I didn't even
A
know.
buyer broker is a must, period. Let me just preface that. But let me also touch on that, because internally, that would be my personality. I am worth 3%. I told you what I charge. Sorry that you think you can't afford it, but that doesn't play. Why doesn't it play? And we have had this, you can play this out so many different ways, okay? The ultimate goal is this business is relationship based. I did 30 million last year and I'm at 12 point something million right now today, 100% on sphere referral. That is it. I made a commitment to my team 2.5 years ago that I would not take a lead from them. We are generating 800 to 900 leads a month. That's a lot of leads to miss. But I made a commitment that I would grow my team. So I have to survive on sphere and referral because I still do a big amount of business. That's the team lead I am, okay? If I would have taken that stance and been hard-nosed, piss off, there would have been no repeat business from that. So I could have missed out on hundreds of thousands of dollars over 2,500. That is a skill from in my early 20s that I had to learn to today, in my 40s, okay? Because back then, the bleach blonde, pistol-headed girl would have been like, listen, you're working with me. That doesn't play if you want a real long-term business out of relationship. So I would just give you that consideration of like, if I take this stern line, what could it potentially cost me over the long run? That's all.
No, you're a powerhouse. You do phenomenal business. It's astronomical. I get frustrated, like, as a group of professionals, if we all did buyer broker agreements and we all had a standard, there wouldn't be all this discount.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So that's agreed. There's a lot of weak agents, but here's the thing.
Big facts.
Why is the market where it is today? Why are we seeing cut commissions?
because there's more weak agents than there are strong agents.
Thank you.
The other reason though, the other reason, that's 100%. 80% of our agents aren't worth a shit. And I tell my clients, you're right, 80% of agents aren't worth a 0.5%. But I'm not them. I'm worth 3%. I'm worth 4, but I'm gonna give you a discount because I
Let's
like
talk
you.
about 7. Now
Okay.
it's playing.
Yeah.
So here's the thing though, we are in a seller's market. Do you think the sellers would have had this ammo 3 years ago?
No.
No. But is that shifting with the market? Yes. Don't discount the fact that there are weak agents, but honey, there are gonna be weak agents that piss you off on a daily.
You guys, just one thing I want to mention, because we are talking about this in one case. Most of you, I said 60% of the population is a S personality, which means that a lot of people in this room would never have that conversation and would probably give them the $2,500 and not say anything. Or like the second that there's a hurdler is going to throw their commission at it. And that actually is where I used to land. I used to feel really guilty about like situations like this. And I learned that anytime I gave something up without getting their respect back, right, it cost me more. Like they actually saw less value than my original value. And I killed myself for these things. You know, so yes, stand up for yourself, but never give a credit without something approval. Like I just really want to hone that in because there's some messes in here.
Yeah, and then listen, this is a real world example, okay? Preston did 20 million last year. He faced a transaction that his savvy buyer, investor, wanted a credit. I may butcher this story, so correct me, but I think I got it right. My advice to him was do not offer that credit, because the minute you do, he's gonna see it as you're pushing him to buy a shitty investment, and then he's not gonna trust you. And what happened?
He said that this house is not a good house when brokers start crediting. Getting canceled.
Oh my God. So, we don't know.
Just offering
There it is.
more on a year and a half later.
So do you hear that though, guys? That's real, okay? Now,
Well, we also had like a similar situation, like Wes and I, where an appraisal came in short on a client that was very high D personality and was just like, no, no, no. And like, I remember being like, hey, can I take a shot at this? Right? Like, isn't that what happened? I said, hey, can I take a shot at this? Because the other thing was Wes was gonna have to eat his commission, right, in order to make it work if we're gonna keep the deal together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just said, hey, can we look at this as an investment versus like low appraisal? Like in this market, you have looked at tons of other houses. You and I both know that you can't pay less than this for the house. Like it's just not happening. Market rate determines what people pay for it. There's 5 other people that are gonna buy this house tomorrow.
mm-hmm.
Okay, the seller has already said they have no wiggle room. There's 5 other people that wanna buy this house. So if we look at this as an investment, and Wes told me it's like appreciated 22%, okay, you will make up this money in 2 months. Okay, are you willing to walk away from this investment for 2 months worth of wait time? And he was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that.
So 9.5 out of 10 times, these tactics are gonna work. Is there that half out of 10? Sure. This is what I'd encourage you to do. Make a business decision. My team hears this all the time. Make a business decision, ask for something valuable in return, which is what? Referrals, like we all know that. The heart of my business is clients, and there's nothing more I love than if you personally tell someone how I was to work with, and that you personally recommend me to your friends and family. That means everything. Now, in the beginning, I always say, when you hear real estate, why don't you think Torie? Like jokingly, I start that from first conversation, okay? But the thing is on that half out of 10 times, you're gonna have to make a business decision. There's ways to do that tactfully where you come out the hero and not the discount guy. And also, you come out retaining relationship. But that would be something that I would make a business decision. My team hears me say that all the time. Is this a business decision or are you a weak agent? What are you right now? Well, I'm making a business decision because this person bought a 1.2, bought a 2.1, I sold the 2.1, they bought a 4.4, they referred me to, hey, I'm on board. Yep, make that business decision all day long. You see the difference? Being a weak agent should not make you feel good. Being a smart business person who made a business choice, that should make you feel good. There's a difference, very clear difference. What else?
I have one non-commission related. How do you jump the hurdle with, I'm ready to sell my house, I want to pull the equity out of my house, but I can't find anything on the market I like.
Oh, I love that.
I have 2 of them sitting in this spot for the last 8 months and they're killing me.
Okay, so here's the thing. Number one, I'm gonna say, man, sounds like you're worried about the shortage of inventory. Is that kind of what you're concerned with? You don't see anything right now today?
Right, absolutely, yep. What happens if I put my house on the market and it gets sold, but there's nowhere for me to go because I don't like anything else on the market?
Number one, before I answer that, did you hear what I did? I want her to tell me her fear. It's a hot market. What does that mean to you? Why are you asking? Do you hear the difference? She has a fear of being homeless. Not going to find one. Well, that I know isn't true, but I got to now get her to know that. So I'd say, okay, so you don't want to be homeless, right?
Right.
And I'd say, hey, I get it. You know what though? I can promise you in 20 years, never had someone homeless. I don't plan to start with you, for sure. Like I promise you I won't let you be homeless. But here's the thing. You can't window shop and really get into shopping without having all the pieces in place. In a market like this, you're the seller, we're gonna be able to make the rules, okay? So putting your home on the market and negotiating a lease back or a longer close of escrow, there's so many things that we can do to ensure before we sign the contract that you are secure with your home, and it buys us 3 to 4 months to be shopping and looking, because once you know your home's under contract and we're able to really look at homes, it's not window shopping. It's shopping with intent. It's looking at things to a deeper level and not just, well, if I think I can buy. So number one, we can put your home on the market, and I promise you, I will guide you through and show you the black and white, that we make sure you're in that home and we buy enough time to find you a property. That's first and foremost. Plan B would be, there's so many new loan programs out there that could bridge your purchase. I'm not an expert on lending. I have a really good working knowledge, but I have an expert on lending. Would we just be okay? Can we just have a conversation with her? Can you just commit to 20, 30 minutes on the phone and let her do the digging and give you all the facts and all the programs programs come out all the time. So if you could just commit to a few minutes phone call with her, at least you have all the options. Maybe option of selling your home before you buy is a better fit, maybe it's not. We don't know that until you have all the data. So can we just get some data here so that way you can make the best choice for you? And at the end of the day, if it is selling before you buy, I promise I won't let you be homeless.
Torie, I have a quick question.
Yes.
How do you overcome like affordability, right? Like we're at the peak, maybe it's a great seller, but then transitioning into something that they can afford as a family. How do you usually
So I'm going to go again back to my lender and I'm going to say, hey, sometimes what people think they can afford versus they actually can afford, let's get the actual facts of what you can afford and what you're comfortable with. Maybe you can afford way more than your comfort level, but again, we're getting into your personal numbers and finance, and that's not my business. That's where my lender comes into play. And they're going to find out all of your numbers and the backside. It's sensitive information, so I don't personally get involved in that. I have someone who's amazing at it. Let's get her involved. Let's find out what your true affordability is, and I'll show you some options.
And then this strategy after that, do you just keep cultivating them? Let's say they can sell really high in Gilbert, but they can't buy something in Gilbert. Like they're totally priced out. Like do you just continue to
So
drip on them?
I'd find out why they can't buy. Because listen, we sold like 200 homes last year, and we're a heavy buyer team. We're not a heavy listing team. And this year we're already at almost 80, 100, I think. We're over 42 million right now, okay? And again, we're a heavy buyer's agent. Typically, you can find them something. You just have to find out what they're looking for. So somebody may say, I want this, this, and this, but then you have to find out like why they want this, this, and this. Because maybe they're saying Gilbert, but maybe if we open up the parameters and truly find out like, well, is it lifestyle? Is it close to your job? Like, what are the things that you like? But usually you can find them something if you dig a little bit deeper onto what they're wanting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
Like-
if it's not affordable, they're like school zones, they're not leaving, like, they have this one little radius. And then you know, like, you've done all the numbers, all the programs, and they just can't pull the trigger on this current market with the pricing, or even the cream off the top. They don't have the money for the additional funds. Like, what's your game
So
plan
my
after
next
that?
game plan would be to door knock.
To find them something massive, okay.
Right, because am I an agent that does what everyone else does and waits, or am I an agent who makes shit happen? And makes shit happen.
You guys, there's also something called a reverse wholesale. So you know wholesalers call you with properties? You can actually call them and give them the criteria and then negotiate the fee to find you the property.
So that's another finding inventory tactic, right? If you're finding inventory though, guess what you get to do?
List it.
And dictate the fee, right? Hey, I'm gonna represent the buyers on this, but I'm gonna facilitate the whole transaction, and I'm gonna save you some money here, and I'm gonna do it for 4.5%. You just gained 1.5%. Congratulations, and you found the house.
Plus
But-
3 on the other side for representative.
Someone on my team, did you hear that?
No, what are you saying?
3% on
Plus
the
3 on
buyer's
the other
side.
side when you
Yeah.
represent them on the buy.
There you go. I just created a lot of income. But I don't think in a market like today, you can really say you're shifting unless you're finding inventory. We don't have an inventory shortage. We have a lack of effort shortage. We have a lack of educating sellers as to why they should sell now and what they can do next. I genuinely believe in my heart that there's a property for that buyer. You just gotta really dig it out. And having an intentional door knocking session is really fun. Because most people door knock and they go, we don't have any homes in the market, but we have buyers. As a seller, and say, which buyer? Tell me about them. Now I'm gonna go, hey, I have a family of 2. They're selling their home a mile from here. You know, they've got 2 kids, whatever. I'm painting a picture. They love this neighborhood. They've driven by this neighborhood. They've seen this home. They know this market. They love the grass of this. They love the, mature landscaping. God, they've just talked about this area, and I think your home, based on like the floor plan I was able to research, would be a great fit. Is there any possibility that we might be able to see your home, and have you thought of selling it all? Now I've taken a personal approach to a very cold experience.
And if they're an high personality, you should just sold them the photo, like the whole picture. Who's living there next?
Also go through your past clients.
Past clients
If
who,
past
yeah.
clients have been sitting on their equity for 4 or 5 years and they're in the area that your clients want to live in, give your past client a call. You already have that relationship
I
built.
bet every seller's thought about selling in this market. That's what I keep encountering, is like, where am I gonna go next?
Yeah, I think there's a home for everyone. You just gotta dig it a bit.
Also, pull the area, fill all homes sold in the last year, 365-day closed, on the list view in MLS, organized by listing agent. Start with the listing agents that have done the most listings in that area, and start calling them, asking what they have coming up on market.
Smart.
These 2 alone sold almost $40 million combined last year. That wasn't because it just poofed out of the air. It's because they've taken tactics and we have honed in on what do we do better? What do we do next? How do we move the chess pieces to success? But I believe firmly that there's overcoming things like that just by digging a little more. Did I answer that?
Also look at homes that have been owned for long periods of time, like 20 years.
Yeah, so I have my title company, depending on that, that's a way, again, digging inventory, right? I have my title company pull who's owned for more than this many years, who has at least 30% equity or 40% equity. Like if you're looking to target like people downsizing, those are the tactics you can use to find a targeted audience. And there's also nothing wrong with running an ad in a certain neighborhood on Facebook, targeting an ad. I have a buyer who's gonna be homeless. They have 2 kids and they need your help. If you've even thought about selling, I'd love to talk with you if you're in this neighborhood.
Cute picture of family.
The puppy.
Okay, so, and I created kids out of animals. I mean, they're kids. I have a single mom with 2 kids. It was 2 hogs. So just again, it's what you're presenting. But Facebook is a great way to target areas on ads. Okay, what else? Oh, come on.
Market's gonna crash. That's, yeah.
I'm gonna wait for the foreclosures.
I'm gonna wait for the market to crash. They're saying.
What's more?
What makes you think the market's going to crash?
Well, there's no way it can sustain.
What is that?
They eventually you get to, I don't know. My cousin's uncle's aunt's dog told me.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Did you hear what she said? Eventually they're going to get to, I don't know. They are, because they don't know.
They don't.
And you need them to vocalize that. I don't know why I feel that way. The reality is they've heard it on some whack-ass news program.
Or their friends.
So my husband, when we were shopping for our house, he was the same way. He's like, the market's going to crash. I'm like, I'm in real estate. Like, you're aware of this. Like, stop, shut up about it. And so the way I got around it was to my husband. I was like, prices and market crash aside, what do you want then? Because we outgrew our house. That's why people prompted their search, right? So, okay, prices and market aside, what do you want then? And then I kind of got him being like, well, I do want this house. That is a 4-bedroom. Okay, so if we start looking at 4-bedroom houses, are you open to going out and looking at them? Maybe, if the price is right. Doesn't matter. Are you open to looking at them? So I kind of had to put that aside to get down to the real reason, like what prompted your search. You outgrew your house. Okay, well, if I find a house that's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, in a location that you want, that has everything that you don't want now, at a decent price, would you consider it?
It's one of these
Yeah.
closes she was
If
talking
this-
about. I was gonna say this is one of those closes she was telling us.
Yeah.
So I was gonna, so that's excellent.
Yeah.
Absolutely excellent. And I would say there's several approaches to that concern. My first would be to get to understand what their real fear is. Their fear is what? And I'd get them to vocalize that to me. Man, if I buy now and the market crashes, I'm gonna lose money. Then I would go into saying, and it would be specific in order based on their concern. So I'm hearing like you're afraid of the house plummeting in value and you own it. Understand that. Now, so first and foremost, we've talked about the fact that like this purchase price at this payment is absolutely affordable for you, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it's comfortable. I mean, monthly, you're not gonna like live outside your means. You can still take a vacation every year.
Right.
Like your life's still gonna be okay. Now, do you hear that? I'm concerned about their life. I care. That's what I'm getting at to the client. So they don't hear, just buy a fucking house. Okay? So your life's gonna be okay, right? Yeah. Okay, so at least we know you can afford this and we're not pushing the numbers, okay? So historically, if you look at real estate, with the long-term hold, I mean, do you plan on moving in 2 years?
No.
So historically, we can agree that like, historically, if you look back, homes double in value in 10 years. And I can't give you a crystal ball. God, I wish I had it, because do you know how much money I could have made? But here's what I can do. Let's talk about the data and what homes have done and what the predictions are. And then I would get into specific numbers. If you look at our real estate, it returned an average of 28%, right? And I would get into the data of what it has done over the last year, the predictions of this year, the predictions of next year. And then I would say, you have to also, I'm sure you kind of understand what's happening in our valley. I'm not going to advise you in another state because I don't know that state, but I know this market. And I can tell you what the predictions are for this market and why. And then I would get into the things that are happening. The big TSMC, did I say it right?
Yes,
Yep. Yeah.
Taiwanese semi.
Okay, that coming, right? Then you've got how many businesses moving here? We were over 225 people a day. That was pre-COVID. We're over 300. Like, do you see what I'm saying? I'm bringing them back to the data and not their fear. And then I'd say, so ultimately, if we don't purchase, what is your plan? I'm gonna rent. Oh, but can we both agree that renting, even at $2,000 a month, which apartments are going for $1,700 minimum,
Disgusting.
okay, even at $2,000 a month, there is 0% return on your investment on rental. So if you're afraid of losing money, by renting, you're losing it. No fear, you're losing it. It's done. But by buying, just the money you're paying into the mortgage, you're putting in your pocket, plus the increase in market value. Plus, even though rates aren't historically low, they're still incredibly low. 3 to 4% is a really good number. I think back to when the refi boom, and I say just this, when it hit 5% and everybody refied. It's still a really good rate. All of these things make it still a great time to buy, and you're not going to lose money unless you absolutely make a choice to rent, and then you're going to lose money for sure.
So guys, just so you know, this particular objection is with I's and C's. So they're either gonna be an I or a C. D's, like, I don't know, there are things that I think is overpriced. Like, that's what that would sound like. So my approach to this same thing is I always ask people, I'm like, hey, where did you find that information from? Okay, I just always ask them, they can't ever tell me, and here's what I say, hey, I'm gonna tell you some real stuff here. Our parents grew up learning about the Great Depression, right? And for the next 20 years, everyone worried that there was going to be a Great Depression. Okay, we grew up in the Great Recession, and so now for the next 20 years, everyone is going to be worried about the Great Recession. But the thing about finances and economics is that the things rarely repeat itself. We didn't have another Great Depression, we had a Great Recession, and whatever will happen next will be completely different, but it probably won't relate to housing. Okay, here's what I can tell you. I bought a house in 2006 for $168,000, and at one point it was worth $33,000. And because real estate is a long-term investment, and I'm talking anywhere between 10 to 20 years, right? That house today is literally worth $345,000. Okay, so at some point in time it was worth $33,000. Okay, and so like if you know what this is and you have a real like need for housing, it does not make any sense to rent, regardless of what happens in the next 2 to 3 years. Okay? But I always take them back, this is how short it is, this is what it is, right? Like, and once I literally use that script so much, right, it just ends it. Okay? Because the truth is there's not going to be another Great Recession. It just will be something else. Okay? And we're not psychics. Just so you know, the national average is 20 years. In Arizona specifically, it has doubled. However, if you did buy a house like in the last boom, it really is 20. Okay, so you want to say 10 to 20 years, but if they bought within the last 10 years, it's doubled, more than doubled. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that ultimately, the other thing you can use is rents are a top performing rental increase market. 8 to 14% expected again this year. And expected again next year. Do you know how you can control your costs? Buy a house. You're not the landlord. The landlord's not going to raise your rent. The only thing that's going to change on a fixed rate mortgage is your taxes and insurance. And if your taxes go up, congratulations, you're getting equity. If they go down, according to the assessor, which I haven't seen that happen in this market, or in the last however many years, right? So that's something to bring them back to. If they don't buy, what are they going to lose? And then what the expectation of rents are. Preston, did you have a question?
Well, he's just telling me he's going to steal
No,
my...
before. He raised his hand.
Yeah, so like,
I was like, no, sorry, you got a couple PTSD from high school.
we talk a lot about interest rates rising. So historically, interest rates of 6 to 7% are very, very normal, right? So the big issue buyers are going to have is like, well, it was 2.5, it was 3.5. So for every 1% increase in interest rates, they lose over 10% of purchase price. So here in Phoenix, for the median price, when interest rates went from 2.5 to 3.5, they lost $53,000 of purchasing power. So if we're going to wait until they get to 6 or 7% again, which they probably will at some point, I tell people I'm out of the prediction game. If anybody's still making predictions after the last 2 years, it's because they don't know what they're talking about. And so I talk about interest rates, and just that increase in interest rate, they're not actually gaining equity, they're just gaining cost of purchasing the home. So, okay, well, home prices would already have to drop 50,000+ just for the increases in interest rates recently. So if we wait till it's 6 or 7, home prices would have to drop by 50%. And I really like what she said, because it was a very simple way of doing that. So depending on how data driven they are, I would go into depth more or less based off of that. I would go into, post 2010 interest rates on the national average had never been below 6%. Before 2000, they'd never been on a national average below 7%. And so I would start going into detail more and more, specifically depending on what they needed to hear.
We're spoiled in my team because we do these numbers all the time.
That was going to be my next semi-ignorant question is with so many people putting these averages and these numbers out, who do you trust? How do you know? Comfort? Okay.
Comfort.
Thank you. That was super ignorant.
We pay for Cromford and we dig into it. Lizzie's gonna give you a few more.
Here's the thing, your clients have no access to Cromford report, nor do they even interpret it. Most real estate agents post the information with no context.
No, we don't do that.
So-
In our meetings, we cover this directly for the agents and then we script how to relate that to buyers.
So what I always recommend that you do is understand our local market using Cromford, but then also reference like CNBC is a really good, Core Logic is a really good reference point for national statistics, because that is what your clients will see because they're the ones Googling shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No, I mean this is the thing.
It's
They're
true.
never going to read Cromford report and they're going to look up national statistics. And here's the thing, guys. Remember when I told you good selling versus bad selling? This, when he was giving that reference point right now, I'm like, yeah, a C personality is going to challenge him and say that home prices have never been as high as they are with rates that way. And you have to be able to then have that combat, right? Because if you don't give them the national statistics, they challenge you, right, with what they've heard. And if somebody challenges you with what they've heard, right, again, certain personality types lose trust without verbalizing that they've lost trust. Okay.
And when somebody gives you a source, Preston and I did this just the other day with one of my investors. Somebody gives you a source like CNBC or whatever the home site is. Oh, the market's going to crash or the interest rate's going up is going to cost so much more. Go back 2 years. Find the same exact person who wrote that. Chances are good it was written 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, by the same exact source. But you can say, well, did it happen in the 2 years? So you discredit right away. You discredit that source.
Only going to that specific person had very much made up their mind. So that was borderline, you don't want to throw it back in their face. You just want to give them something to think about, and then just slowly over time. It could just mean that they're very analytical and they're just not ready right now, or they're scared specifically right now. So you can plant that seed and realize you're not going to win every single, debate.
No, yeah, you're not,
Right,
but
once you
yeah.
do it. Some of it is foundation over months.
Right.
You met somebody, to change
And
course.
proving that what you're telling them has come true, right? When you've told them, do this, this, and this, and they don't. And they're like, oh, I should listen. Most of everything that's going to come to you is underlying, there's a fear. Dig deep enough to figure out that fear. And then squash it.
I've learned a lot from you today. Thank you. Both of you.
Just a quick question, I'm not sure who wants to answer, but within the 15, 16 years, right, you've seen a couple of different cycles. What would you say on average, time-wise, have you seen where it actually starts shifting to be more of a buyer's market? You see price declines usually? I mean, there's patterns. There's patterns.
Are we going to level out? Is what we're
So
asking.
here's the problem, guys, with economics. Again, all of these charts are based on historic events. And so we are literally still in the recovery from the Great Recession. And so I think that's what makes this so difficult. What I always try telling people is that timing the market is like winning the lottery. You only know that you hit the bottom well after it was the bottom. Okay? And so
Hindsight's 20/20.
you can roll the dice on it. But so what I always tell people, I'm like, hey, we make financial decisions. I help people make financial decisions, and a financial decision is based on your budget. Can you buy, and is there a need? And that's what I talk to you about, because that's all that's relevant. I'm not a psychic, okay? I wish I was. I'd be way better off, right? But I just follow sound, money strategies. I'm Warren Buffett's my idol, right? Pouring, plain, consistent. And that's what I tell people every time somebody asks me about that. Now, if I was gonna roll the dice, okay, there are some things that are, and this will just make you happy, okay, that this is in this room, don't sell it, okay?
This is free nuggets by Lizy.
So, At this very moment in time, we are seeing what's called an inverted yield curve, which means that short-term rates are the same return as long-term rates. And when that happens, 18 months later, we typically are in a recession, okay? Now, here's why recessions are great for real estate. Real estate always goes up in a recession. Inventory will increase because lots of people right now, we have an inventory shortage, but we have a lot of people being landlords that maybe shouldn't be a landlord right now, okay? And when recessions happen, we will see an increase in the number of listings, period. But rates go down in recessions. So it becomes more affordable, we have more inventory, we'll sell more homes, okay? What I like about knowing that right now is like what's good for me and what like Torie loves this too, is that this market is really tough, like the toughest I've ever worked in, period. And so the good teams know what to do. We have lasting power, we have staying power, we have reserves. We're gonna trudge through this. And then 18 months from now, we are going to scoop it all up. Okay, that's where this happens. That's what you need to know of as a real estate agent, is how long to hang on for. Like what to, now, there's a lot of variables in there that I cannot control, like a war, like, you know, inflation, you know, like there's lots of different things, but based on my knowledge of economics, that's what should happen. Okay, and like, I'm just going, okay, I just gotta make it 18 months and I will then get more market share, which has happened to me. Now, I've been in 2008, I started at the bottom, okay, and I just kept scooping up more market share every time there was a shift. Okay, but the shift I saw coming, I worked for people that saw it coming like 18 months in advance. So right now, put your heads down, pay attention to everything she says, and like, make it through this time.
And I think that, now I'm gonna give you the other side of Torie, okay, the side that my agents get. At the end of the day, it's perspective, right? Like, we can teach you, my team, we can teach you how to do the systems, how to do the things. But at your core, it is your perspective of how you wake up and see the day. Anybody driven a very clean car and a bird or something just shits, you go through a basket of bees and your front windshield is filthy? Your car may be clean, but your windshield, which is your perspective, is shitty and cloudy. It doesn't matter that the reality of your car being clean is still clean. Your perspective is skewed. Clean the windshield and reverse that. The bigger element is the car, right? The bigger thing is the car. Car's clean, windshield's shitty, but everything's fucked up because you can only see bird shit. But all of a sudden, I have a filthy ass car, and I go to the gas station, I clean my windshield, and I'm like, I'm driving a clean car. It's perspective, guys. And here's the thing, equip yourself with data. Do not be a feel-good agent that doesn't know shit. Because I will come along and destroy you, I promise. I will meet one of your clients, and not knowingly, I will be your client's agent. Because I am a data-driven person who will talk about facts, and I will talk about data on their level, and I can be fluffy when I need, and I can be a D when I need, and all of these things, and your client's gonna go, holy shit, I gotta work with that. So equip yourself and know this stuff. But when you wake up every day, you better have a passion for these people, because their every day, their everything is going to be around that home that they want to buy. When you have a shitty day, what do you want to do? Please don't say go to the bar. What do you want to do? He and I are close, I can tease it. What do you want to do though?
You wanna go home.
You want to go home. At the end of anything going on in your life, you just want to go home. That is why your role in these people's lives is everything, because they are trusting you with their security, their peace of mind at the end of a really shitty day. I can tell you for a fact, if any of you have ever gone through a remodel while you're trying to live in the home, I am doing it right now, and I can handle stress at 4,000 times most people, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, construction! I've got these cleaning people in my house today, and I'm like, I don't care what you charge me. Come every fucking day if you need to. Just make my life livable. Their home is their place. You are responsible for taking them there, to that feeling, to that safety. So be passionate about this. Don't make it about the commission. That will come if you take care of your client. And keep a good perspective. So when the market's tough, and you took your licks, and you come out and you're like, holy shit, did you see that market? We're gonna be talking about this market years from now. You know what I talk about still, and we laugh about today, is when COVID hit. And a lot of agents said, please don't get political with me. If you have beliefs on it, cool. I don't care about all that. Here's what I'm telling you. There were a lot of agents that said, I'm out. And then all my team, we look like fucking surgeons. We're showing homes in booties and like trying not to slip off. And you're like FaceTiming with your hair, I mean everything, right? You're masked up, your gloves, and your shoes and everything, and you're FaceTiming and your people are at home, and we're selling houses. And we sold more houses when the market, everybody said it's gonna crash because of COVID, we doubled. We doubled that quarter because my agents had the mindset that absolutely not. I'm going to advise my clients why you need to buy now. And I'm gonna take all of the fun and I'm gonna do what I need to go show those homes. Hey, you want me to buy you a bubble so you could see it in person? Cool. Just tell me what makes you comfortable and we'll get this done. That's perspective, right? That's determination. So get through this, but arm yourselves with the facts and data. Watch what's happening, and that's why data is important, so you can shift when you need to. And then the great Lizy says in 18 months, we're just strolling through the park. So anything else? We booked till 2, and it's all based on what your questions and scripting concerns.
Yes. I mean, you kind of answered it earlier. Hesitant buyer.
Yeah, I think hesitant buyer is absolutely finding out their concern and then giving them an answer to their concern based on their hesitation, right? Like, what is it? Sometimes we assume we know what someone's worried about and we don't have a clue. If you learn to listen, really listen to your clients, ask more questions and listen. If you guys noticed, and trust me, the only reason I point this out is, can you kind of tell my personality? 5 minutes before you ask a question, I got an answer. That doesn't play. Not in this. Not in really in sales. But I had to learn to be that. I had to learn to sit and go, even though I heard them and I know what but I can't feel that way. I can't feel like I had an answer as they're talking. Ever met those people? You're talking and they're going, bloop, bloop. What is going on? Like, what you got something so important to say, it's about to flow out of your mouth so fast that I can't stop it. What's up? Like, nobody wants that. They don't want to be heard, right? Sometimes they have a real concern that they don't say on that first thing, but you got to get there. So listen to your people. That skill alone, digging deeper, will help you be their go-to. Be the, oh my God, you have to use that. Anything else?
So a couple things I want to point out about Torie's selling skills, right? Did you notice that each of us have a sales voice? Mm-hmm. Did that come through? Okay, so like Torie is a high D. Okay, I'm a high C. Okay, and my second is I. Is yours I?
I don't even know if I have anything else. Probably.
So here's the thing. I have to elevate my energy, elevate my tone. And my strategy on everything is super happy, positive. I don't say no or can't. I'm like, okay, great news. All you have to do is get a job. Everything looks great. And I actually say things like that. Okay, in like 2 months we're good. Okay, let's get that resume out there. Here's what you need to earn. Okay, here's how you negotiate it. Okay, so because I'm not a high D personality, my tone helps me sell better. Okay, I personally believe that people do not yell at happy people. Okay, now Torie, because she is a high D, right? And she knows that she's dominant. Do you know that she goes lower, right? Her voice is calmer. She's slow and steady in her approach, right? Like, we've learned how to support our natural styles. Okay, so every single person here has to understand their own disc profile. Okay, the other thing here, do you notice that she's extremely confident in her money mindset? Like, she knows her worth. Like, she's worth every cent of her commission, maybe even 7%. Okay, do you feel that here? Okay, like, I think that's unquestionable. Okay, do you feel the same way about your services? Okay, now I am not a high D. I have 30% D in me. Okay, I know we laugh because I can come across as a D. It is. No. Oh my God! Get your heads out of the gutter. Okay, so the thing is, I'm not very dominant when it comes to sales. So for me, for a long time, I had to do positive reinforcement. So I had to say every single day how much I loved money, and also that I was the prize. Like, that I come to serve, and that them using me for their home loan is honestly in their best interest. Like, no one's gonna care more, work harder for them than me. But I had to literally say that every single day until it became like my belief system. And like, so much my belief system, I was interviewed in a podcast and I said it on the air. They're like, why should they work with you? I'm like, because I'm the prize. I'm gonna have to explain that. But the thing is, I've said it so much that it literally is how I feel. And so it's important, because a lot of these sales tactics, a lot of these closing skills, a lot of everything that she's gonna execute comes from that deep foundational belief that they're working in their best interest, and that she is the best agent, and that she will find them all of this stuff. Okay, so if you do not feel that about yourself, here's what I recommend. Okay, daily affirmations and 1 hour minimum of getting better at your craft. So if you don't know the contract, read the contract. If you don't know sales strategy, listen to scripts. I practice scripting every single day in my car. In my car, no one can hear me. It's like the best spot to like really get after it. Okay. And now I'm so rehearsed that I can basically say it. It sounds so natural because it is natural. Okay? Torie doesn't necessarily need to do that, but I know Torie does positive daily affirmations. Whether or not Torie recognizes that
When
she
I
does
do it, it's to clients. I will tell you that. Every conversation on my team, I'm like, of course, because we're the best. Because I'm the best. You want to work with me because I'm the best. No one's going to take care of you like I am. No one's going. So I'm very confident in that.
But how many times do you think you've said it? Period.
Daily.
No, daily, but how many times a day?
I don't know.
The thing is, you guys, whether you do it consciously or subconsciously, like repeating it out loud, like how many of you right now could say, I'm the best? And have it just come out of your mouth, I am the best.
Preston's like, Preston's like,
I don't think that Preston could do it, if I'm being honest. Okay? Like, I don't think
Depending on the situation.
yeah. Look, the thing is, like, you gotta get practice with this stuff. And that's one thing I want to point out from another salesperson observing another salesperson. I'm like, wow, she's really got the tonality down. She's really got the scripting down. She understands people, like, you know, innately, right? And her deep belief system is that she's the best. She will find the property and she'll do whatever it takes. Okay, so daily affirmations, 1 hour a day, getting better at your craft.
and hey, that quiet tone, that changes. I'm dealing with a younger first-time buyer, that becomes very mom-like. Listen, this is how we're gonna do things. This is what I need you to do. And then if the lender's like, hey, they're not, it's if one of my clients aren't doing anything, it's 2 seconds I get told and it happens. Because I set the precedence up front of this is how the transaction with me is going to go. You're gonna use my lenders, you're gonna do what I ask you to do, I'm gonna do this, but this is what the expectation is to work with me. And trust me, when you hit a certain level, I just had this happen not too long ago, and one of the investors that I was referred to, I don't like investors very much, I give them away, but when I knew, hey, I could do this guy, And I made upfront clear, you will use my lender, you will use my property manager, you will do it my way. If you want to work with me because you're never stepping a foot in this state, that means I'm in control of your money and you making money, so you're going to do it my way. And at the end, when he started to challenge my property manager, I said, just so you know, that's great, I hope this makes money for you, but I will not work with you again. I told him that in the beginning, and I was not afraid to tell him that in the end. Because, again, my ass is on the line. So if he uses another property manager that sucks, he's not going to make the money I told him he would make. And whose fault is that?
It's gonna be yours.
So my tone changes based on the buyer. Anything else? You guys are all going to go out there and just practice this shit and sell a lot of houses? All right, well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Lizzie.
I just want to remind you, we are not motivational speakers. We are the loan officer. She runs a team. If you're looking for a great team to work for, I think she proved why she's the best. And if you're looking for a great loan officer, I hope I gave you a nugget today that's worth your next referral.
Absolutely.
And we're done.